Hey everyone, it's Jack, and today we're going to take a look at RebornOS. Thanks to Cander's Path, who asked, have you tried RebornOS by chance? And yes, I have. In fact, I did a review on this about a year ago. However, it's been a year, and I thought I'd try a little bit different twist with it this time. Instead of using your better-known desktops, I thought I would try something a little more obscure that they offer, which is Cutefish. Cutefish is something I've been kind of following a little bit for quite a while, and I think it might be worth taking a look at and see how it is progressing. It's still in beta, I believe, and it seems like with every revision of the beta, it seems to get better. I think it's worth taking a look, but first, Raven the Player says, great video as always, Jack. Thanks. Out of curiosity, what OS is your daily driver? Well, I think that's a pretty good question. What OS is my daily driver? Well, I know what you're thinking, probably Windows 95. Yeah, but you're wrong. It's actually, I have several computers around the house. The computer that I am on right now that I'm using, I'm actually running MX21. MX21 is a Debian-based distro based on Debian 11, but it's also got the up-to-date MX repositories. And it's something that I use on this machine because it is the most stable probably of all the different distros I've tried. They all have their great points and their lower points, but overall score I probably rate as the most overall stable and yet reasonably up to date. So this is what I use on my base system here. And then I have an upstairs computer which I'm running Arch Linux with Arco Linux. And so I like Arco, the distro there, because it is really well done and pre-configured just pretty much the way I like it. And the only reason I don't use Arco down here is because in Arch-based Linux, the only drawback is every so often you get tiny little quirks. I think the last quirk I had in it was with OBS Studio, whereas the overlays for recording and pause suddenly disappeared out of nowhere and they didn't work anymore. And I think that was probably related to some update. And so they were gone. And that had happened to me like a year ago too. But then it cleared itself up in an update. And so it happened again at some point. And instead of just kind of messing with it. And that's just like one example, but I typically get these little things and they're kind of nitpicky. They're not really anything that's a deal killer at all. However, I do like being able to see my status when I'm recording because sometimes it's really easy to get confused, especially if you're using the pause a lot. And then you can think you're paused but actually recording. And then when you think you're recording, you're paused, and yeah, it can be a real headache. So little things like that sometimes can really escalate into bigger things. And so when I'm on a computer where I need to do things like make videos and I need stability above all else, then MX21 really comes in for me. For the Arch-based system, I am a big fan of Arco. I really love Arco Linux. And so that's kind of where I go on that. And then I have Mrs. Boss, and she's running Kubuntu, the KDE spin of Ubuntu. And that again is another very rock stable thing. She's someone that requires rock stability, but a certain look too. And KDE gives me that flexibility to kind of tweak it to exactly her specifications and without too much headache. So that's where that comes in. Then I have a 13-year-old son, Kevin, and he has a couple of laptops. And one of his laptops, I believe he's running a Garuda spin with Cinnamon Desktop, I think. And then he's got another computer that is running, he's got another computer that's running Windows 10. There, I got it out. Yeah. That kind of felt like yakking up a bone that got stuck right about here after 2 weeks. Nah, but seriously, Windows is actually a really good is really a good operating system. It really is. It's well designed, and there are certain proprietary software on Windows that just is unrivaled. I just have a personal philosophy that doesn't really work with the whole Windows thing because I don't like trading 70% of my resources so that my data can be mined. But, maybe that's just me. But other than that, I think in a design sense that it is a really well done operating system. It's proprietary, but I enjoy the freedom of Linux. And so there you go. And with that, let's go onward and upward. Okay, so here I am in the live version here. So this is the Cutefish live version. Well, actually, it's not Cutefish yet. We're in the GNOME desktop here on the live version. And I'm just going to jump into my settings real quick because I want to change my resolution here up to 1980 by 1020. 1920 by 1080. So just going to go over here, click this real quick, and then give us a better view. There we go. And we'll keep those changes. Nice. And I'll just hop up for a little bit. Okay. So here's our desktop. And I really like the way this GNOME is laid out here, or GNOME. And so again, we have our full menu up here. And they're using the extension on the bottom for the top bar. Move to the bottom. I forgot what they call that. Dash to dock, I think. So that's nice. So I'm just going to get right to it and install this guy. But you can also hit the try it button if you don't want to install it and you just want to play around with Reborn. I'm going to go with English. If you're behind a proxy, you can click that button down there and put in your settings. But for most of us, we'll just move on over to here. All the defaults are good, so I'm going to arrow over. And then I want to select my version of English, which would be United States. So we'll do that. And then next. And then my region. So I would be over here on the East Coast. And that looks like a winner. So I'm going to hit next. And so here we can choose our keyboard, and by default it is chosen English, so we're good there. Now let's choose one of these desktops. Lots of choices here. This is really great. So here's the Cutefish, and then we got all these other choices too that you can play with. So if you want to load this into a virtual box and just keep trying out different desktops, I think you'll have a lot of fun. Let's go up to Cutefish and let's give this baby a try and see what it's like. And I think Reborn is a nice choice to give that a try out on. So I'm going to hit next. And then here we got all these different apps that we can choose from out of the gate. And that's pretty nice. I like having these choices before I actually do the install. We also have an advanced feature here. So if I click this guy, then some extra things will come up. I don't remember what all was on there without the extra, but I think some of the extras would probably include maybe some of those extra browser choices there, and maybe the games. And if I uncheck it, then of course we're back to our essential packages. I think the other packages under advanced are probably things that offer alternatives, like alternative file browsers like Nemo and so forth. So here we got applications for system maintenance, which I think is good. And then our AUR support I want to leave on. Bluetooth, I would check that as well. And then Chromium web browsers available. I'm kind of going down the line here as if I was going to be installing a daily driver, pretty much. Common photo editing programs for Linux, it's got a bunch of stuff in there. Typically, I would probably not check this, but I'll check it now. And then we got video editing programs like OpenShot, Kdenlive, Pividi, I think that's how you pronounce it, and the AVI Mux. Again, I probably wouldn't check this, but I'll check it here for our review. And the reason I wouldn't check that is because I like to install those individually, because I wouldn't need all of those video editors in there, and same with the graphics deal on there. But just for the sake of the review, here we got FreeOffice, which is a good free office program, just like the name. And then we have a hardware analysis. That looks like a good one to add in there, just to make things easier. Kind of a GUI version of some command console lines, I guess. Then we have LibreOffice, Mega Sync if you have a sync account, which is nice. Then OnlyOffice, that's another good Office program. Pretty nice, actually. Opera, and then Popular Games for Linux. Cool. It's got Zero AD, Battle for the Westnuff, and Super Tux Racer. Wow. Nice. And then simple things like Solitaire and the like. That's cool. Then we have power saving, utilities, printing support. So I like having that in there by default. You can never have too much printing support. And then we go down here, you got the Realtek driver. I would check that with mine on hardware because I do run a Realtek on there. Then we got run Windows programs in Linux. So this is a really nice wine setup here. It's got the wine, then Lutris and Play on Linux. So that's really great if you're like into gaming. That's a nice combination right there. I like that. And as an alternative, you also get a combo with Steam, which is down here. So you got Steam and Play on Linux. And another great combo. So if you want to be like loading in some Steam-based games, that's a great way to go as well. And then you got the Vivaldi web browser, VLC, which I like putting in. And then WPS Office, which I really like too. That's one of my favorite Office suites, even though it's not 100% open source. But I really like the app a lot. So I'm going to go with that. And then under advanced features here, let's see if there's anything else I might want to add. Spell check. Here you got like Nautilus and Nemo. So if you want to add in some additional file managers to the default one that's already there, you can do that. However, I'm just going to stick with the defaults, I think. And nothing in there I really want to add. So we'll just go next. And here's a disclaimer about the AUR, just letting us know that the AUR is not actually part of the distro and Arch and so forth. So if you mess up your machine, not their fault. TNOP, totally not our problem. Okay, so here I'm going to just stay with none for the cache partition. That's just like if you mess up and then you have to start your installer over again, the cache partition will just kind of store all the stuff that you downloaded during the install. So now we're at the point where all we got to do is select whether we want to erase the disk or choose exactly where you want it to be installed. Of course, being on a VM, this is just fine to erase the whole disk. I also like the fact that they have an option here to set your home folder in a different partition. That's pretty cool too, to have it on another partition or volume, because I always put my home folder in a separate partition. And so it's nice to have that choice right there. It makes it easy to just check a box instead of going into the advanced, at least in most scenarios, especially if you have a separate drive. So that's very cool. I like that. And then after that, all we got to do is just add in our username and password and all that, and then we're good to go. So I just wanted to show you the most important part first, which was choosing the extra applications and our desktop and all that. All the rest, you've seen one, you've seen them all, so I'll just get right to it and jump on the desktop. So I'll see you in a second. Okay, the install went just fine, so I'm rebooting here, and we're going to jump in, and if everything went okay, then we should have a desktop. And there it is. Nice. Just log in here. And with a little luck, we'll have a desktop, and we do. So there we go. A first look at our Cutefish environment. So here's our menu, and wow, that's nice. I like the full screen menu there. That's pretty cool. And then we have a top bar, and then our bottom panel here, or dock. So this is nice. I like the full panel, the full screen here. This is really cool. And all the apps seem to be all laid out rather than being categorized. And I just hit my left or my right arrow key here, and that was cool. So I can arrow back and forth using my right and left keys. I like that too. That's very intuitive. Here's our file manager, themes, or a console, calendar, dustbin, or trash bin. So if I open up my file manager, here we have beautiful looking file manager. And I think this was probably, this file manager is customized for this OS. After all, Cutefish is based on Qt and the KDE framework, I believe, is how it's made up. Here's our properties, so let's see. So here we got file and then help and about. I'm just gonna hit about here and see if I can kind of get a name on this file browser. And yeah, I guess the about box doesn't work, but we are in beta. So yeah, you gotta expect little buggy things like that. And here we have our Wi-Fi and then dark mode. So I guess if I click that, it will go dark. And then we have our volume control and our date. Nice looking panel. And then here's our settings. And this is probably like to our log out and so forth. Nice. It looks very nice. Really beautiful desktop. Kind of reminds me of Deepin somewhat. Very cool. So if I hit this dark mode, yeah, it goes right into dark mode. And that's quite gorgeous. And that's another thing Deepin kind of has in their settings, is like a dark mode toggle. And really nice. Beautiful rounded corners. So the theming is great. I can see where this desktop would be really cool. And there's a notification center. That's kind of reminiscent of Deepin 2 or Budgie. Very cool. So it looks like they got some great ideas here in the design. Here's our terminal. And since we're in here, I'm going to just see if HTOP's on there. Nope. And not surprising, really. I think I'll just install that real quick. So we'll do a -s. Well, first I'm going to SYY here. And I just want to sync the repositories without updating just yet. Just to get HTOP on here. And yeah, it looks like it didn't go to the next line after the install. So I guess that's another minor little thing that's got to be fixed. So HTOP, why am I looking for HTOP? I got to download it. So let's get it. -S, HTOP. And we'll go yes with that. Okay. So we got HTOP installed. Let's run it and see what our resource usage is like. Wow, 553, 554, 554 megs. So very nice. That's very resource friendly with this nice desktop and aesthetics and blurring and so forth, the compositing going on. To me, that seems pretty decent. I'm liking that. Okay. Now let's see if NeoFetch is on here and just take a look at it. And here it's showing our OS. So we do have NeoFetch 5.15.13 kernel. About the latest and greatest, I think. Showing our Cutefish DE and KWin window manager. Nice. So I am liking that. Nice effect too, the minimizing. Nice and smooth transition there. And then we have a calculator. And so that's kind of nice to have handy. That's something I actually use quite a bit. So I kind of like having the calculator right there in the dock. And I'm assuming it works. Let's give it a test. Hit that in. 5742. My guess would have been 5741.3699, but close enough. Okay. And then our trash bin. So let's go in our launcher here and just kind of take a look around a bit. So we got all this cool stuff, add, remove software, and a lot of the standard things that you'd kind of want to see in an install. Let's open up our package manager here and just kind of see what this is like. We'll move that down. And so here we got our different categories. If you want to browse everything in general. These are our installed apps, and then we have updates. So I might as well check for the updates while I'm here and see what we got. Actually, not too many. That's not bad. Okay, I'll go ahead and apply that. That kind of tells me it's up to date already pretty quick. Sounds good, so we'll apply that. Now we're good to go. All right, so got that out of the way, all updated. I was thinking the packages would kind of show up there if I hit browse, but I guess not. But I'll just search for something like Inkscape. And that looks good, 111.5 or -5. Let's install that. That's the latest and greatest. Of course, it's Arch, so you would kind of expect it to be. Gonna just choose that. Okay, those are all our packages, so we're good with that. Let it all install, and then we'll have Inkscape. So it looks like the package manager is working just fine. Like I said, I'm not sure if the listing is supposed to come out in the categories or not, or if that's supposed to be empty, but it does work. So when I do a search, it finds what I'm looking for. I just thought that there'd be categories here, you know, some kind of display, but not a big deal. Okay. So back in our menu. I kind of like the way everything's laid out. I mean, I'm used to categories normally and kind of hovering and looking at them, but having these all kind of laid out like this on a full screen is not bad. And there's our Inkscape. It's still really easy to find stuff. And of course, you got the search window too. Kernel Manager is kind of nice. I like that. And Darktable, that was in that package install when we selected install graphics stuff. So HP, Gwenview, GIMP, of course. So by installing the packager, I didn't have to install it manually. Dragon Player, Document Viewer, Icon Browser, Kate, which is a really nice KDE-based text editor. There's Kdenlive. And so that was part of the video packages. And that should launch right off the bat. And there we go. Yeah, this is looking good. And again, this would be the newest version because it's Arch. And you can see we have our universal menu up here up on top. So that's part of our top bar here, having this universal menu when we open up applications. And everything looks really slick. I mean, the universal menu is nice, really beautifully designed. Very polished, actually, especially for such a young distro. Then we have OpenShot, which is a pretty nice video editor. I kind of like their presets. Only thing I really don't like with them, which to me is a deal killer, is that they don't show waveforms by default. You got to actually enable them each time you open a video clip. And if you have a big clip, you can sit around for 5 minutes just waiting for your waveform to appear. That should be a default option, and it should just be there. I just never got that with OpenShot, and that's one reason I won't use it, unfortunately. And then we have Rapid Photo Downloader, Raw Therapy, which is another nice photo manipulation app, Stacer, System Monitor, and let's see what monitor this is, actually. I'm assuming it's kind of like the one you get in KDE, but let's take a look. Yeah, looks nice too. So there's our overview. Then we can check out applications, which ones are running, which currently there's no apps running. And then you have processes. So you can see all your processes running right here. And as you can see, there's a lot, of course. And then your history. So if we go in here, we can kind of get a running tally of what's going on over a timeline with graphs. So that's really nice to have, especially if you're troubleshooting, you're trying to figure out something that might be eating up CPU or whatever. And then also we got system profile. And here we can see all our sysinfo. And here it'll pretty much tell you everything you ever need to know about what you're on here. So this is a really nice utility. And it's really great to have if you want to get in here and see exactly what all's running and get info on your hardware and everything else. So this is a pretty thorough utility, and can even look at your kernel modules. And you can see here we're running the 5.15.13. Very good. And so then we got Time Shift, our WPS Office suite. If I open up spreadsheets and then just create a new document, we can jump in here and you can see that this is very Excel-like. I mean, I think can do pretty much anything that Office can do. So it's really a great deal for free, I tell you. And in Linux, it's free with no ads. I think it's also available on Windows, but there's ads in it. So that's a little bonus for being in Linux. And then over here on our second page, of course, we got our G-Thumb, HP Scan, QPDF View, and Inkscape. So those are the apps. So pretty nice menu, I like it. And I like the fact, kind of reminds me of the GNOME layout. And here's our settings here, except you can get right to it instead of jumping through extra hoops to get to it or having to use a keyboard shortcut. And then here we got for our display, I think I'm going to change that to 60 Hertz. That seems more appropriate for a US monitor. And then you can also rotate it in all kinds of different directions if you want to mess up your screen. Then we have our light and dark theme. This is actually what we were clicking when we were up in the upper left-hand corner before, or right-hand. I don't know my right from my left. And then here we can dim our wallpaper. Wow, I like that. So we could actually dim it, and that's kind of a cool effect. I really like that option. That is neat. Huh. Cool. And then here's where we can turn our effects on and off. So if you're a little short on resources, you can turn off the system effects, and then your corners are no longer rounded. You don't have the shadows around the drop shadows and the transparency. And all those take some degree of resource. If you have a decent newer computer, that's not really going to matter. But if you're running on something older or you're short on memory, yeah, you know, it could make a difference. And let's click on this minimize magic lamp. Now if we minimize it, it should do it. Yeah, there we go. The magic lamp effect. Nice. I was in default before, and that's just kind of where it eases out. And then we have our colors. So our default accent color is this blue, but we could change it here to this pinkish color. And then you can see all our accents now are that color, or it can be green. That looks cool. And purple, a lighter purple, or maybe a pastel pink. Then we have a kind of a amber color there, and gray. Nice. I kind of like the green. That looks really neat. I'm going to go with that, I think. The green looks really great in this dark theme. And then the fonts. I think the dark theme is really themed out nicely, too. Everything just works. Your fonts, your contrast between your buttons and everything seem to be balanced really well. Here you can have like just a solid color background if you want. I'd probably use maybe that color. But of course I prefer a picture, which I think most people would. And that kind of looks cool. And I think that is a good looking wallpaper too. That actually works nice with a dark theme, actually. And that's similar to the default wallpaper, I believe, in the Cutefish. And then we have a cuttlefish. Coincidence? I think not. Nice. So here we have our dock settings, and you can have your dock over here on the left if you like kind of a unity kind of position, and then over on the right. And then, of course, on the bottom, I noticed they don't have a top position for that. I guess most people probably wouldn't use the dock on top anyway, especially when you have the top bar there. And then we can go small, medium, large for our dock size. Or if you're a little nearsighted, you can go huge. Nice. Medium is the default, and for me that's the most comfortable, so I think I'll stay there too. Then we can always show, always hide, or smart hide our dock. And then here's our user settings, which is always convenient. If we click on it, it doesn't really give you any default icons at all to use. So you'd want to use your own custom picture for that. And then for our mouse, here's our pointer speed and a few different styles, breeze and Adwaita and so forth. And then we can set our date and time here. And by default, it'll auto sync. And then we have our language settings. If you want to change that for some reason, you can do that there. And then our power saving for performance. And power save is the default, which I think is good. That's probably where I'd stay. And then we have our about, so we can get more info on our system version and all that, which is .5.1. And our type, kernel, processor, RAM, internal storage, all looking good. So there you go. That is the about. All right, so close this guy. Wow, an overall really great looking desktop. This is something that I think shows a heck of a lot of promise. In its early stages here of beta, it is already looking so sharp. And I know Cutefish has been out for a while, but it's been in beta for quite a while. A lot is going into the development, and I think it's kind of impressive that they're using the QtQuick and KWin. The combination is really making for a beautiful desktop. Still, it's light on resources, even though it's very Deepin-like. And I think that is a really cool feature, is that it's got this beautiful aesthetics to it, yet it's lightweight, and it feels like something that's a lot heavier but isn't, or it seems to have the features of things that are a lot heavier. And it's got that kind of, like I was saying several times before, that Deepin kind of look, but without the overhead. I think this is really an exciting project to keep an eye on. Well, I probably wouldn't use it as a daily driver personally yet. That could change in the future. But I think this is something that really is, and if somebody did use it as a daily driver, I think it would work, actually, because the only quirks I've seen so far, at least in this short review, is just little cosmetic things, like in the terminal when it didn't go to the next line after the install automatically. Yeah, little things like that. Those are just kind of cosmetic tweaks that can easily be worked out. But this is really a super project. As somebody that's a power user and you want to get in there and just kind of tinker with it and change it all up and everything like that, or if you want to do the things that a typical power user would do, then it may not be your best choice. You might want to go with something that gives you a little more flexibility. However, for somebody that's not a power user that just wants to get his basic things done during the day, right now, even at this point, I think it would probably be one of the ideal environments for some people. So if you want something simple to work with that just seems to work, and this seems to work, why not? It's beautiful, it's a nice environment, and very comfortable. I think it's just intuitive all the way around. And with that, I definitely give this beta a double thumbs up. Very usable and very nice to look at. And with that, I hope this review was helpful. And if it was, don't forget to leave that thumbs up and hit subscribe. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.